Alrighty, here we go. We are sharing on the social media real quickly. And then we will jump in. I think the plan for today is probably just to do a micro painting because I'm still kind of thinking about how I want to do the rest of our big ocean painting because I had a couple of kind of shifting ideas happen last night. So we'll see. But we are definitely doing our streaming. Yeah, so we are gonna stream and we are gonna do our micro painting, which we've been trying to do one a day. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. And yeah, we'll see how we're feeling from there and go from there. I forgot to make myself more tea before starting this. I meant to make myself more tea. It's okay. But we will dive on in. So let's go ahead and flip you back. So we have our micro painting set up over here. As you can see, if you can just make me more of whatever I had for breakfast this morning, that would be great. Thanks, Robin. Yeah, I meant to make myself more tea before starting, but I just forgot. I think today we're going to play with some colors that we haven't used in a while. We've been using lots of purple, lots of blue, some greens, whoops, that kind of thing. And so I think today it would be fun. Thank you, Robin. I appreciate you. I think today would be fun to play with some yellows and oranges and reds. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to grab some of the flag red from Apple Barrel, which we don't use very often because this is one of our cheaper paints. So this is probably one that was bought at like Walmart or something and cost me like 60 cents. We're going to use some cadmium orange hue from Artist's Loft. And we're going to go ahead and grab some Brilliant Yellow from Artist's Loft. As always, I let you know what paints I'm using simply so that if you want to paint along, you can. I'm not sponsored by any of these companies, even though that would be great, especially Artist's Loft. If Artist's Loft wanted to sponsor me, I would jump on board with that in a heartbeat. But yes, I am not sponsored by anybody. I just let you know what paints I'm using so that if you want to paint along, you can go get them. Or you can find colors that work similarly well for you based on what your budget is. We're going to give it a quick little spray and a quick little swoopy-doopy wipe down. Alrighty. We're going to play for a minute. We're going to grab some orange. Let me go ahead and move these. I feel like I need like a better system here with this little papery do. So you can see that that red spreads a heck of a lot more than those other two. And that's because it's a very thin paint. Alright, I think I know what we're painting today. I think we are going to paint a fire because I'm enjoying these colors, and a fire with these colors feels appropriate. So this is going to kind of function as our background. Hello! Thank you for pausing Bake Off for me. That's quite an honor for somebody to pause Bake Off to come join my stream instead. I am pulling up a reference image, and I don't always do this, but I feel like I want to today. So, if we're doing fire, we are going to need some white. So I'm going to grab some titanium white from Artist Loft. Alright, we are using just this little round brush. I'm going to start by going in with my white and just kind of letting that happen there in the middle a little bit. Thank you. Tea has been delivered.
Yes, it's steamed.
I see that. In 5 minutes, if there's anybody in here, can you remind me to take out my tea from the mug so that it will be done? That'd be great. So with fire, it tends to be a lighter, brighter color towards the middle. So that's why we're adding in that titanium white in there. My voice sounds rough today. So we're going to kind of just build this up, letting it kind of blend with what's behind it. Because these colors don't need to be super brilliant. We'll come in with some orange after the yellow. Just again, letting that all kind of blend together. We're working orange, not red. Put your brush in the right color. This little piece of paper also somehow ended up with a little bit of paint splatter on it. So if you're seeing there's a little bloopy-doop over there, that's what it is. And we'll come in with some red around that orange. And I'm kind of just letting that red go a little bit of everywhere. Just kind of tinting that outer part a little bit more red. That brought too much red in, so we'll come back with some orange. And then we're going to work our way back using the same colors in the same spots and just kind of blending them the opposite direction. So all that I'm doing in between colors is I'm just kind of rolling the brush on my palette to get some of the excess color off, but I'm not actually rinsing it. Fire! Alright, quick wipe off of the brush. Give that a half a second to dry a little bit, and then we'll continue. Yeah, we're really just wiping off the brush. We're not actually like rinsing it, so pretty simple. Oh, excuse me. That was quite a burp. Alright, so for the next portion of this, I want to do something that's kind of a little bit more artsy, creative, fun, as opposed to realistic. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just use very, very small brush strokes. So I think I want to start on the outside. And what we're going to do is we're going to load up that brush, and we're just going to start kind of with a very loaded brush, just kind of putting individual little strokes in there, and we're keeping these small here. They can kind of go in whatever direction you want them to go. They don't all have to go the same way. And then we'll just kind of wipe that off a little bit and grab some orange and do the same thing. And I'm going to put some of the orange where some of the red already is, kind of letting them commingle a little bit. And we're just going to fill that space that we already did orange in with these little bitty brush strokes. Having the brush really loaded with the paint kind of allows us to get some of that texture in there, which you know I'm a fan of if you've been here before. And we'll grab some yellow, and same thing. We're going to start by kind of putting it where the orange already is. It might blend a little bit, that's okay. And then we'll work our way through the yellow section, doing the same thing. We are using a lot of paint here, so this is likely to take a while to dry. But that's okay. Roll off excess paint and then white. And same system. We're going into the yellow section first because that's the one we last did. And just building up our flame. And then we'll come into the middle when we feel like we've got enough into the yellow section. And then we're going to reverse and do the opposite. So we just did white. We'll go back to yellow first. And we're going to just keep building in this same way until like the whole thing is just these itty bitty, very kind of textured brush strokes until you're happy with it. If you're doing a paint along with me today, stop when you're happy. If I keep going when you're already happy, you can keep going. If I finish and you're not happy with how yours looks, keep going. It's up to you. It's your painting. It's one thing we love about art is that every artist is going to do things differently, even if you're doing like a paint along. I think it's been 5 minutes, so I'm gonna pull out my tea steeper thingy. I don't really have a good place to put it in here. That's okay. And roll off your excess paint and go to your next color. And same thing. I keep almost putting my brush in the red instead of the orange, which is not what I mean to do. I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because we kind of want that very highly blended effect. I say highly blended, but really it's just creating an amalgamation of paints and colors on here. I want to show you really quickly up close and possibly from the side, depending on how we can get this best. Do you see how textured that is? Like that just shifted colors on me. It's much more that bright color it had a moment ago. Do you see how textured that is? That is all paint. And so if you look kind of from the side, you can see that it is literally raised from the amount of paint on it. I love that. I love using way too much paint in my paintings to create texture like this. It's so much fun. Roll off the paint. Go into the orange. The red. The red is a little bit tricky because it is this kind of cheaper paint. And so you're not going to get quite as much of that raised texturing situation with it as you would with the more expensive paints. But I don't have a red in my Artist Soft paints. So we use what we have. The other option, and I think I am going to do this really quickly, is to take some of that orange and a little bit of the red and just kind of blend them together because that orange is much, much thicker than the red. And so by using that orange to kind of thicken up the red, we're able to get a little bit more texturing. And I'm going to need a little bit more orange for that though. And I'm really using very, very little red because the red that I'm using is pretty strong, if you will. And so it doesn't take much to get this orange tinted a little bit closer to red. And plus, like if you look at a color wheel or whatever, orange and red are neighbors. So it shouldn't take much to shift it and push it more towards red anyway. And then by doing it like this, we can have that orangey red color, and then it'll kind of just flatten out towards the edges with the more red. So again, rinsing, clearing off the brush. If you want to go back through again, you absolutely can. I'm going to mostly shift like straight back to my yellow instead of going to my orange first, just because I want I see a couple spots that I want to be a little bit different. If you notice, I'm almost like holding my brush upside down as I'm doing this. And that's because I'm trying to not focus on controlling where the paint goes, because if you think about fire, how much control of it do we really have? So I'm trying to not so much control where the paint goes, but just kind of the texture that's being added with the paint. And we'll grab the white, and we'll come in and just strengthen some of this white in here. Now, this little guy has a lot of paint on it, so it is going to take a while to dry. When we do highly textured paintings like this, it usually takes at least several hours to dry, and then like I like to give it like 24 to truly dry, just because it's a lot of paint. All right, I'll bring you up to take another peek. It is not still steeping. I took it out. Thank you, though. So this is kind of how our fire painting looks. It'll look better when I take a picture and post it on the social media, which you can see on screen. Painting on Wheels for Instagram. Painting by Shelby Lynn on Etsy. If you're not following me on Instagram, you should be. It is the primary place where everything gets shared. I also post on my story over there when I'm about to go live. That way, people can know. We are going to move this off. Lower this back down. And we're going to take a peek at our ocean painting really quick. So this is what we were working on yesterday evening for our bonus stream. And also what we started on the other day. We started on this like 2 days ago, something like that. So this is how it currently looks. If I'm being honest with you, I can't really tell which side has that darker undertone and which side has the lighter undertone. I'm pretty sure this side is the one with the lighter undertone just because I can see bits of the green peeking through. But in terms of the look of like trying to find a transition line in there, I can't, which is good. So we're gonna, real quickly, we're gonna spend like 10 minutes on this, maybe max-ish. So if you remember, we're using titanium white. We're using cerulean blue, and we're using phthalo blue, and then we were also using violet, our light violet color. So we're just going to grab more of those 4 paints, and we're going to grab our same brush we were using before, which is our kind of slanted floofy brush is I believe what we were using before. I actually didn't wash them last night. Bad me. So give it a real good rinse to make sure we're not having any other colors playing in. Cool. And then I'm going to flip this because the part that I want to work on is this part that I can still see some greens peeking through, which is up top. And so it works better for me personally to have the part that I'm working on of a canvas like this towards the top. And right now we don't really have a top or a bottom to this canvas. It's just all there. So same thing that we were doing before, we're going to do twirly whirlies. We really enjoy twirly whirlies. If you follow me on social media, you may have noticed that I did post a ASMR video of doing the twirly whirlies. So when we're doing this today, we're going to kind of not really pay attention to what we did before, just because we're trying to just get greater coverage. So I might go in the same spots sometimes with similar colors, but that's not necessarily the point. Because as we twirly whirly and we blend this, it's not going to look the same, and we're just going to be okay with that. As before, we're kind of just picking spots and going in, all twirly whirly style. It can be really helpful to reverse your twirly whirlies from time to time. I am also going to occasionally just be quiet and let you enjoy the sound of the twirly whirlies, because I really like the sound of it. So. So if you follow me on social media and you saw the ASMR video, I was very surprised by how well the microphone setup that I ended up adjusting and changing and all of that ends up picking up the sound of the paintbrush. I know I commented that on the Facebook post one, but I'm genuinely pretty pleasantly surprised by that. Also, if you are doing a paint along on this, just a reminder, you do not have to use the cerulean blue if you don't have access to it or you don't want to. You can lighten the phthalo blue. Phthalo blue is kind of a staple, but you can lighten the phthalo blue using just some white paint. And so it's kind of just up to you if that's something that you want to use, if you have money to buy. But really all we're doing right now is kind of just building up the paint on the canvas. Because I don't really want to see that green poking through. And I'm just using little circular motions. As a reminder, it is also very helpful sometimes to just press your brush into the canvas to kind of unload some of the excess paint and then keep going. I feel like my arm is going to end up being sore from all these twirly whirlies. One thing that can be really helpful to keep in mind as you're doing this is that if you're using smaller circles, it can help pick up the paint underneath a little bit better, which can help you then blend a little bit better. So by using very small circles, barely moving your brush, you're able to pick up more paint, help blend it more. Whereas using larger circles, you're really just spreading the paint about. So down here towards the bottom of the section that we're painting, where we kind of stop seeing the green poke through, I am paying more attention to what we did before. That way I can help create that kind of seamless transition between the current stuff that we're working on and the stuff that came before it. That doesn't mean I'm just trying to replicate it though. It means that I'm just paying attention and being mindful of the previously done paint. As always, again, do the twirly whirlies until you're happy with it. It doesn't have to be exactly like mine. I don't expect it to be exactly like mine, even if you're doing a paint along. Just do it till you're happy with it. I really like mine to be a little bit more blended between the different like color groupings, color sections. That doesn't mean yours has to be that way. If you are a fan like me of having everything kind of nicely blended, then it can be really, really helpful to move very quickly through this process. So just keep that in mind, because you really can't blend dry paint. Alright, I am not currently seeing any green poking through. That's not quite true. I see a little bit up here. Alright, I'm happy with that. I'm not seeing any more green peeking through, so I am pleased with this. And we are going to go ahead and call it a stop there. So I'm going to move these pins out of the way so that I can turn it back around. And we will probably keep working on this ocean-y painting next time. As you might remember if you were here yesterday and listened in yesterday, the goal with this ocean painting thing is to kind of have it be like, looking from the bottom of the ocean floor up. And so that's kind of the thing that we're going for. Hopefully it works out the way that I want it to. But until next time, I will see you later. And yeah, have a great Sunday. Make something that's uniquely you, uniquely and beautifully you. Have a good one.